In our 30s, our skin often starts to change. Through our 20s, with relatively minimal care, we can maintain, in most people, healthy, attractive skin. But in our 30s, most people start to notice things changing, be that early signs of aging, fine lines and wrinkles, a change in skin texture, the fact that the skin feels a bit more rough and less refined than it once did. It might be that you develop adult acne. It might be that you suffer with hormonal fluctuations in your skin across a month. Or it may be that you are pregnant and dealing with pregnancy skin, and then the consequences of afterwards and when you've given birth and what that hormone withdrawal does. There are many things that can come into play, and it's often a period of life where we start to think, oh, maybe I should be doing more for my skin than I have been in the past. So I'm going to break it down section by section and talk about what you can do if you've got some of these different things going on with your skin. So anti-aging, skin is losing collagen from the age of about 25, and so if you're perceptive, you're going to start seeing those changes in your face through your late 20s into your early 30s. Some people don't notice them for a little longer, and it's important to realise that we all vary. But that's largely due to collagen decline, as well as decline of the other proteins in the skin, elastin and hyaluronic acid, which again, production of which becomes a little bit more sluggish. You might notice that your skin feels a bit more dry than it did. You might notice that you have fine lines and wrinkles appear, and quite commonly the first area where people notice these are around the eye area, because the skin there is so much thinner and more delicate than on the rest of the face. You might notice that your pores just don't look quite as neat as they used to, or that your skin texture itself feels a little bit more coarse. All of these things can be signs of skin aging, as well as development of pigmentation, which can also happen in our 30s. So what can you do skincare wise? I think this is really a time to be upping the ante. Start thinking about introducing some active ingredients, maybe some acids. Now, acids sound like a scary word, but actually they can take many different forms. You can use AHAs, which are great for most skin types. You can use PHAs, which are great for sensitive or dry skin, or you could use BHAs if you have a more oily skin type. And these will help to exfoliate and smooth the skin's surface and generally make the skin more refined. Another great ingredient to be thinking about is retinol. It's the only ingredient that in the USA is allowed to call itself anti-aging, because it has so much data and evidence that shows how effective it is at stimulating that collagen production in the skin. And getting in there now and using ingredients that are designed to help build collagen will help you to replenish your collagen bank account, collagen banking. So being on the right skincare at this stage, when you're less overdrawn into that account than you will be in later years, will certainly help to yield good results. Vitamin C is another excellent ingredient to be taking, because vitamin C, when applied topically or taken orally, can also really help to boost collagen production, and it gives a real radiance to the skin. It's one of my favourites when I'm working with brides before a wedding in terms of giving them the best glow they can achieve for their wedding day. So vitamin C, and this can be in the form of L-ascorbic acid or THD ascorbate, which is a very effective and stable form of vitamin C, a real glow giver. Now, I would think, if I were you, about introducing an eye cream as well. The eye area, as I mentioned, is the most prone to aging quickly. So having a dedicated eye cream, bearing in mind the eyes are sensitive and a bit more reactive, and so using your face product probably isn't the best idea. You could also explore, depending on how you yourself are aging, whether using a neck cream is a good idea. It might not be that you do this at the beginning of your 30s, but at some point in your 30s, you might start seeing tech necklines appearing and the texture of your skin on your neck changing. So a good dedicated neck cream, again, is really important, because the neck skin is structurally so different to our face skin. And of course, never forget your sunscreen with an SPF of at least 30 and broad spectrum UVA coverage, because we know the sun is responsible for most of our skin's aging, as well as for things like skin cancers. So using a good effective sunscreen every single day, and if you just think that if you don't need a torch to see, then you need sunscreen on. Now, adult acne, moving on to that. People often think that spots are something they leave behind with puberty, but actually for many people, adult acne is an issue. And it can happen when your skin just isn't exfoliating itself as efficiently as it should, and you get this build-up of dead skin cells which fall into the follicles, into the pores, pores and clog them, and then this build-up of bacteria beneath, which can lead to a spot forming. And it can be really frustrating, it can be really challenging for your confidence. So again, what can we do about it? It's important to remember that acneic skin, especially adult acne skin, isn't always really robust and resilient. It's often quite sensitive. And so focusing on a skincare routine, we don't want to throw every single active at it all at once, because the more inflammation we cause and the more sensitization we cause, the more severe the acne could be. So what we want to do is work with good ingredients like salicylic acid to help cut through the oil in the skin. It has a bactericidal effect, and it really helps to keep the skin clear and to help that healthy exfoliation. Retinol's another great ingredient, and you might want to consider staggering these rather than using them both in the same part of your routine. But retinol or vitamin A can really help with oil production in the skin, so it can help to control those breakouts. I'm also a big fan of the Clinisoothe spray, which is a facial mist that you can carry in your handbag and spritz throughout the day, and it will help to rebalance your skin's microbiome. It will kill most of the nasty microorganisms that live on the skin, and so can really, again, help to keep acne at bay. It kind of plays in with hormonal skin, because a lot of adult acne does also have hormonal fluctuations. And hormonal skin, we have to really think that until you're able to do something about the underlying hormone imbalance, it can be really tricky to truly get on top of. Having a good consistent skincare routine throughout the month, and again using the same sort of ingredients we've just talked about, and just learning to know your skin and how it behaves at different times of the month. When is it oilier? When is it drier? And this is where skin cycling comes in, because if you have truly hormonal skin and you know that for 1 or 2 weeks of the month you have problem skin and you're oilier, you're greasier, and you break out, and for the other 2 weeks of the month your skin's pretty good, you'll know when you can use a heavier moisturizer, and you'll know when you need to avoid those because they're going to make your breakouts worse. So you can use ingredients that you don't have to use, or products that you use some days but not others, and that's really from paying attention. Keep a skin diary if you need to, so that it can help you understand across a period of a month or two what your skin is doing at different times. And finally, pregnancy and the postpartum period. For so many of us who've developed good skincare routines and we love using skincare and we're using active ingredients, when you then become pregnant, you have to stop using some of it. Now, the only one that's an absolute no is retinol. Retinol is one you shouldn't be using in pregnancy, but there are great plant-based alternatives like bakuchiol, which you could explore using. And it's important to remember that that carries on through breastfeeding. So that whole period when you're breastfeeding, you shouldn't be using retinol. I'm also a little bit cautious about benzoyl peroxide and salicylic acid in pregnancy. So these are ones I would use with real caution, because especially when we get to high strength salicylic formulations, it would be like taking an aspirin, which is something you wouldn't do while pregnant. A really great skincare range that I love for women in pregnancy and breastfeeding is Mida Beauty, because they're a completely inclusive range and everything in their range is suitable for pregnant and breastfeeding women. So that's one I'd really recommend you look at, and they have ranges for sensitivity or for breakouts or for hydration or for firming and anti-aging. So whatever's going on with your skin, bearing in mind that every woman's journey with her hormones and her skin is different, there is something there for you. And then when you do finally deliver your baby and the period afterwards, we have to remember we've had this rush of hormones rushing around our body, and estrogen is the one that gives us glow. It's why people call it the glow of pregnancy. You look radiant, your hair's lustrous, and then all of a sudden that hormone withdrawal can mean that your skin and your hair change quite dramatically. Many women experience postpartum hair shedding, and many women also find that through pregnancy they actually age a little bit quicker than they did, and that's because you're nourishing your skin at the very end of having nourished yourself and your vital organs and of course your baby. And so it's a time when many women want to focus on their skin and getting back to a good routine. So get some specialist advice and think about incorporating some of those steps we've talked about earlier in the anti-aging section to really help you get your post-pregnancy glow back. If this content has been useful for you, please give it a thumbs up or send me a little message below, and please do subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this.